Okay, welcome today to our Worthing College Academy of Sport chat, or introductory chat into everything sports science with regards to the courses that we deliver. I'm pleased to be joined by Chris Turner today. Chris is the main man, he is the subject leader of sports science and PE. So Chris, just while I get the screen up, mate, give yourself a little brief introduction to the rest of the world, please.
Hi guys, as Dave said, so I'm subject leader for sport and exercise science and A-level PE. Been teaching FE now coming up to 11, 12 years. So yeah, anything and everything sports science and PE. Really.
Perfect. So again, during this difficult time, but what we've also discussed as a department is actually potentially quite an exciting time in relevance to getting ready to hit the ground running in September. So obviously what these podcasts are all about, which we're covering all of our curriculum, allows you to get a little taste, a little introduction into how we run our courses, how our courses have been successful now over a number of years, and also the changes that have occurred. That we made the changes to our BTEC provision 3 years ago. I'm led to believe now that everyone has to do it as of September. So that's why there's been a lot of changes. People going to doing different types of qualification as well. But the real important thing for us at this time is what's right for you. So it's vital that as parents, carers, students, you have all the information. Because obviously this time can be quite worrying. And obviously if you're lacking a little bit of motivation, which I think some are, understandably, it's time to get that motivation back on track, get focused, and ensure that you are smashing out the park come September. Chris, before we crack on, I know I've just alluded to it briefly, but what were the changes that we went through 3 years ago with regards to the BTEC, and how has it changed from maybe what people seem to think BTEC is? Because obviously there's a lot of myths out there that we need to dispel.
Yeah, so one of the main changes people will focus on is that all BTECs under the new specification now have examined units. So across both years, you'll sit examined units. Across all BTEC qualifications, you'll now sit examined units, whereas on the old spec, that wasn't the case. And then also another major change was the units that were covered. And the new specs always put a bit of fear into teachers because it's something new and you've got to change stuff. But I think one of the biggest positives of the change was the new units that were put in place. So things like technology and sports massage, field and lab-based testing. Coming from a sports science degree background myself, I was excited by those because they're the sort of stuff that you would definitely focus on progressing into it. But it was also stuff that's very industry relevant. So they were really good changes to see. And the other thing as well is that obviously new spec as well, different units have different weighings in terms of how much points they're worth. So that they do put the examined units up quite high. So to progress and do well on sports science, you do need to do well in your exams. Distinctions in coursework units will help, and that's what we aim for as a minimum. But the examined units are what I classify as grade defining, and that helps display. One of the biggest myths we have about BTEC is it's vocational, it's easy, it's practical. And I teach and run both sports science and A-level PE. Those courses are on a par. Okay, so that dispels that myth, hopefully straight away, that BTEC's easier, etc., etc. It's just different in terms of how we teach it and how we assess it.
I think the important thing to people to realise as well is that it's what's right for the individual. And I think it was a decision that me and you made, I think it might have been 3 years ago now, I think it might have been 3 or 2 years ago now, with regards to the sports science curriculum in particular, which I think has really provided an even better platform for students to be a real success with the double and the triple, which we will talk about, because obviously there's a lot of jargon as well that goes on, and obviously we want to make it as clear as possible to parents, carers, students in terms of what they're getting themselves in for. So working on that, to put it basically, we offer, and I'm probably going to skip these slides to be honest because they look a bit scary, but we offer a 2A level equivalent in sports science, and we also offer a 3A level equivalent in sports science. So just to put things simply, students can study BTEC sports science double and an additional A level on top of that, or they can just study purely sports science. So for that in mind, I think that again sets us aside from a lot of others in terms of, you know, the flexibility of the curriculum. I spoke with Adam as well about sport and the flexibility of the curriculum that can be put in place there as well. And I think that's really important. So what are your thoughts on that in terms of flexibility of curriculum?
Yeah, massive. So you'll see there, and as Dave said, might look a bit daunting, but the other great thing about the specification is I and we as a group of teachers can pick what units we cover. So at Worthing College, it's becoming more and more predominant that physiotherapy, sports massage is really popular. That's actually an optional unit, but we obviously now make that a compulsory unit almost every year because that's the demand, but we might not do another unit in comparison to it. The other thing that's shown great flexibility over the last couple of years is if you are a double student and you start on, say, double sports science and A-level biology, and you struggle on biology, or after your first year you don't get a high enough grade to progress on biology, there's potential for us to welcome you onto the triple as like a fast track option, either early doors or after a year. We can make that progression for you, so you still leave after 2 years at Worthing College with 3 A levels. And where other establishments maybe don't have that offer, it's a great option for you to try that other subject while still predominantly doing sports science as your option. I think it also we shouldn't not say it as well, that doing the triple sports science is great because if you love sport, you know you want to get into sport and all you want to do is sport, you can do triple sports science. You don't have to pick another subject. And I know there's a lot of you watching this that will probably interest you a great amount.
And I will put a little disclaimer out there with regards to the double, is that obviously if you pick, and we'll talk about options as well, your third A level as it were, you know, we don't make it a common rule obviously that if you're struggling or just go, oh don't worry, I'll do the triple next year. You know, that's only for special cases, but what it allows us to do in terms of how flexible we've been is it allows us to do that rather than students maybe don't succeed as well on another A level than what they could with us. So just briefly, Chris, just give me an overview of, so if you've applied already and you're applying on the double, as we call it, the BTEC Sports Science double, that will be known as the extended certificate. So again, it's very important. So when you apply, if you want to go on a double and you want to do that plus another A level, another subject, it'll be the extended certificate. The diploma is what it's called at the end of 2 years, which what we try and do is we try, and at the end of every year, students will gain a qualification. Obviously, if they pass their exams, they'll gain a qualification. So again, just give the guys and girls a brief overview of the units. Don't have to be too much depth because we can do that for other vodcasts. And also maybe the benefits of us actually being able to accredit students at the end of each year.
Yeah. So on the left-hand side of the screen, they're the units that diploma extended certificate students will study in year one. And the first two are exam-based. So you've got functional anatomy as an exam. And that's a multiple choice exam with some short answer questions in there as well. And then sports psychology is what we classify as a case study based exam. So you start that exam, you read a case study. We know the 3 questions going into that exam. What we don't know is the case study. So we have to apply the theory that I would have taught you all year to those exam questions. So they're what we classify as externally assessed units. And then internally assessed units in your first year are sports coaching and fitness training. And in those ones, you'll get assignments which could vary from a PowerPoint presentation, a practical task, a written report, etc. If you complete everything on the left-hand side and pass, as a bare minimum, you'll achieve a full A-level. So where our extended certificate goes into our diploma, an extended certificate is worth 1 A-level. If you stay for us for year 2 and get the diploma, that's your 2 A-levels. So hopefully it dispels that jargon of diploma, extended certificate. What do they all mean? Just look at what they're worth. So 1 year on the double is worth 1 A-level, 2 years is worth 2. And then the right-hand side just gives you a little flavour of what you'd study in year 2 with a nice little highlight on there as sports massage.
Again, it's very well rounded as well, that program, in terms of the amount of things you actually study. And there's a lot in there that's actually potentially a little bit different to school. So, you know, field and lab-based testing, research methods, massage, psychology, you know, there's lots in there that you potentially haven't studied before. So again, and advice-wise, I think you guys and girls need to be passionate about your subject, need to know about it, need to research it, need to, you know, the resources that we provide you from now moving forward. Again, you know, take full advantage, ask us questions, because the more that can happen, the better prepared you will be come September. And obviously then you can hit the ground running. In terms of the extended diploma, the difference is that with the diploma, you're with us 8 hours a week. And then obviously there's another 4 hours where your other A level is concerned. Whereas on the extended, you're with us for a bit longer. So you're 11 to 12 hours a week. So Chris, again, mate, just the overview there of the extended diploma in terms of the additional units that are studied.
Yeah, so you'll see from this list, again, left-hand side year 1, right-hand side year 2, all the units diploma students do, you'll do as your core, but additional units you'll do differently to the diploma students would be research project. And I love that because you're able to do a project of your choice. And that's great for something to talk about, a job interview, university application. Also, with whatever part of sport you're passionate about, you can do that project in. So say if it's physiology, you can do something in that, psychology, nutrition, etc., etc. In the second year, that's where we see quite a bit of difference in terms of units. So you're doing an additional exam in your second year, and that's a nutrition case study based exam. So a bit like sports psychology, we know the questions, we just don't know the case study. Then you'll also do some real interesting, exciting units, but also quite practical and hand-on units, like things like sports injury and assessment, links really well to sports massage. Physical activity for group-based exercise is another one. And then obviously really current unit would be technology and sport. And Dave's taught that this year, and I'm sure he probably mentioned the word VAR once or twice.
Yeah, just a couple. But yeah, it's just, I love the fact that across all of our subjects, there's such a wide range of subjects to study, and you know, that's great credit to the staff that I'm privileged to work with at the college in terms of the expertise, the ability to run them, and also, you know, we've spoken on other podcasts about the environment, about, you know, so what does a classroom at Worthing College look like, Chris?
Ooh.
To put you on the spot.
Question. Creative, active. So if you look at those units, you can see where, oh, that must be practical, that must be practical. Everything we do has a theory core, and that theory core we learn in that classroom. Then where we can apply it practically, we will do. But our classroom isn't stand and talk and deliver and you guys write. We get you up, we get you active, we get you working individually, small groups, as a whole class. But there'll also be some stuff where it's still on the spec, but I might get you to debate massage techniques. And then I actually encourage you to actually talk about the reasons for and against, and then like vote. So we just try and make it as active as possible, but we'll allude to it later on. But, you know, if you look at a sports classroom, sports science-based classroom, you'd expect to see students working hard. And we'll challenge you to work as hard as you best, hard as you can do throughout your time with us.
Yeah, and enjoy what you do. Because if you enjoy what you do, you're going to...
You'll see smiles and laughter, and normally aimed at us as teachers, but...
Right, jokes, yeah. So, with regards to these changes from 3 years ago, everyone was like, teachers were a bit, you know, maybe resistant to it. They're like, well, you know, students on BTECs, it's vocational, it's practical, it shouldn't really have that examined element. However, you know, to be honest, we embraced it, and our results have been relatively consistent. So, you know, again, for our extended diploma, you're looking at, like a lot of our other courses, top 25% in the country for grades. Sports science diploma was in the top 10% last year, an outstanding achievement. And again, 100% of those students achieved high grades. So if we're looking at relevance to A-level, because I know that's what people signpost, D-star would be your A-star, which is really hard to get, by the way. People that get D-stars, you know, it's not impossible, because nothing's impossible, but it is now a grade that is, you know, very hard to come by. It's like the A-star at A-level, you know, and you work down, so your distinctions, your A's, your merits, your B/C, you know, your passes, your D/E, probably a little bit like, you know, those kind of things. But again, in terms of that, the students work exceptionally hard, and a lot of credit must go down to them in terms of those, I would say. Additional support. So we've got the classroom, we've got the creative environment, we've got the buzz. You know, what do we do in addition? What's the above and beyond, Chris?
Yeah, so we use a lot of different programs to try and support the learners as best as possible. Like on A-level PE, we use a program called Everlearner. It's very student-based, very independent-based, and basically there's modules for every part of the examined units that we teach. Okay, so across that, there'll be stuff for psychology, there'll also be stuff for the anatomy part, but also where your team of teachers are also A-level PE and sports science teachers, we'll use resources across our program to help you as best as possible. We also use a program called Exam Wizard. What's great about Exam Wizard is it gives us every past paper, every question, every mark scheme, every examiner report. And actually across your examined units, you'll get a pack that looks a bit like this. And in that has your work that you'll do each week, but it also has every past paper, mark scheme and examiner report in it. And that's where we're set work for you to do, but it almost becomes a bit of your go-to guide when it comes to your revision. Because, you know, my motto is you will fill that in before your exam, and then you'll know you've done what we would classify as the bare minimum. You'll also see there on the bottom of your screen, you've got revision guides and workbooks. They cover your examined units across year 1 and year 2. And the other thing, I'm not saying you have to buy it now. We don't normally recommend students buy the middle book, the blue one, but it could be a good book to purchase now to look at, because it covers all your units across year 1 and year 2 across the core units. Okay, so there'll be the internal units and examined units in that textbook for you to refer to. Let's say loads of resources, but there's many others I could talk about in terms of teaching PowerPoints that we have, revision resources we create, the stuff up in our classroom that we use for your learning as well.
Yeah, there'll be plenty of that that's drip fed in, but I just think it's good to have an overview of what we offer the student when they're not just in our classroom, but out of it as well. So with all the courses, our staff give up a session, 2 sessions a week in terms of subject support. With our numbers, it's tough to timetable everyone in, because it's just impossible to have 60, 70 people in one classroom at one time. So, you know, a lot of it is drop-in based. However, sometimes we tell you must be in there for your own good. But the drop-in based stuff is highly effective as well, because it shows that our students are intrinsically motivated to succeed. And I think this is something that you definitely, in this time period now, this time of, you know, uncertainty, worry, anxiety, we need to smash. We need to be intrinsically motivated. We need to have that desire to be better. We need to have that desire to study. We need to have that desire to start to research the courses we're going to be doing in September. So again, advice-wise, that's something that we really need to kick on with. Just in summary, I'm just going to briefly cover this, not in too much depth. But if you watch the other podcasts, you will see the differences or the slight nuances in the courses. So again, it's what's right for you. It's not what's right for us. The beauty of it is we will tailor, or we will cater for your experience. But you need to use this time to make that right decision. I know this is going to be a bit of a controversial question or controversial thing to talk about, because obviously we don't know, well, we kind of do, but we don't know how exam results are going to be portrayed. but obviously we need to talk about English and maths, Chris, don't we? In terms of,
Yeah.
you know, there's slight nuances in particular between sport and sports science. And again, if you could kind of explain those nuances. So, for example, worst case scenario, you could retake English or maths with sport, but potentially sports science, it's a lot more difficult to do. So if you could just...
Yeah, I think a big difference between sport and sports science vocational, so the BTEC exams, is that where we have case study exams on sports science, you'll sit that exam and that will be it. Whereas on sport, you get an opportunity to prepare and take some notes in with you. At no point does it make it easier. And at no point am I trying to play top trumps against sport. But sports science traditionally have actually done better in those exams. So it's just a method and way of learning towards it. But when you ask yourself that in an examined unit, you've got to answer a 30-mark essay question, that really supports the need for a good core base of a GCSE grade. And then within your anatomy units, within your fitness training, field and lab-based testing, there is an awful lot of maths, like an awful lot of maths, that we have to have that core given that you can actually apply the basic principles without having to be taught that to then apply it to what we're learning. So that's why we have our entry criteria set as what we've got. As Dave said, it's a real tricky time in terms of how grades can be calculated and where we go with that. Students in the past have retaken a GCSE alongside sports science, but traditionally those students have struggled. So that's something you need to consider in terms of the grades you get and where you're at in terms of the courses that you're on. But it supports that we need that to be able to then progress and get the grades you should be getting with us.
If that is maybe a weakness of yours, then this is an ideal time to develop that.
Massively.
So, there's plenty of stuff online. There's plenty of books you can buy on Amazon. You know, I'm homeschooling my kids at the moment, like a lot of people are. You know, there's books you can buy. There's workbooks you can work through. So, you know, there's plenty of things that you can do to argue your case. You know, so if you come to me and Chris and you go, well, you know, I'm predicted a 3 or 4, you know, a 4 at this or a 3 at this, you know, however, this is what I've done, X, Y, Z, up to this point, then, you know, we're fair people. We would potentially give you a crack of the whip, but it's something that we need to tell you because we can't, you know, we need you to hit the ground running. The nature of the ISPs, the independent study packs, the nature of the exam-based units, you know, they are quite relentless. They're really interesting, but they are quite relentless as well. So again, it's that to bear in mind.
Dave, just on that as well, I think it's really important to add that regardless of what's happening now, that every year that I've worked at Worthing, and I know it's always the case at Worthing, that when you start with this in September, you will be given a fresh start and you will get a clean slate. And also, even though your GCSE grades will be something, and that gives us a good indication of you as a student, they're not always the best predictor of how good a student is. So they're not the be all and end all. And as a department, we're known for giving students a chance and opportunity. But that applies to every student. The guys that are struggling to get 3s and 4s, also we've got students averaging 6s and 7s on their GCSEs, doesn't mean you're always going to be the best student. So you'll get that clean slate with this regardless, and we will give you that opportunity come September.
100%. There'll be a lot of conversations, which we're always willing to have. So in terms of our standards, we try and keep it relatively simple. So things like being on time, correct kit and equipment, working hard. And the fourth one is massively true right now. I think we need to, you know, healthy body, healthy mind is definitely a mantra that we should all be working towards during this time. Because again, when things potentially do in time get relaxed and we're allowed to go back to something like normality, people need to be, you know, hitting that ground running. I keep saying that word, but it needs to be ringing in your ears. And if you can do stuff now, you know, even better. And if you can ask questions of us now, even better. So is there anything you want to add on that, Chris, in terms of, you know, the studentship is the word that's coined a lot.
It should be nothing new to you guys, but I think it's just important to know that it'll be enforced. It's something we stick to throughout the duration that you're with us. It's not something that in September will be a couple of weeks and then we'll relax up, but it's nothing. Those expectations we set in the studentship that we expect from you guys is to help prepare you. You know, what would employers expect? What would university expect? What do we expect from you guys as teachers? But I love this part of it, is flip it back at us. Okay, so, you know, what teachership, that's a new word, just create that out of nowhere, are you expecting from us in terms of, you know, how hard we're working, us being on time, organisation, etc.
Definitely, definitely. I love that. Teachership next year. Love it.
There we go, new word.
So, question we're asked a lot: what can we do with sport? Again, the sport and leisure industry is one of the fastest growing. It continues to grow. Literally, I know you haven't come to college yet, but start thinking about what you want to do. And if you've got I have no clue, start thinking about it. What interests you? What do you have a passion for? What gets you up in the morning? What do you like watching? What do you like reading? What do you like playing, doing, whatever? Because at the end of the day, you're going to have to work for 75% of your life. Bit depressing, but with that, you then need to be in a position where you get up every day and you want to go to work. And then you can supply for your family, X, Y, Z, roof over the head. Because it's a lot bigger than just the educational, side of things. It's about life too. So the traditional route with a lot of students is university. And just showing there, and I've hidden the key, unfortunately, with our heads, but for me, it doesn't matter if you study BTEC, if you study A-levels. You can go to university anywhere you want, as long as you do your research, as long as you research what the entry requirements are. I think for me, it's massive that now guys have the opportunity to go abroad, in particular America, to have athletic scholarships, to have academic scholarships. And we will support you in anything you want to do. Our main job is to make sure that you have a career path or you have a progression route you go on to. We would not allow any student, because we would not be doing our job, to just leave us with nothing in terms of ideas. So your thoughts on that, Chris, in terms of progression routes, before we move on?
Yeah, we have an awful lot of students that progress to university to study sports science, sport-related programs. It's really important to add that, obviously, universities, as Dave said, it's not the be-all and end-all. There's other opportunities that we'll talk through in a minute as well. But I think you've got someone also in the building. I help a lot of students with progression for university and stuff. It's vital that you guys are doing your research. Now could be a nice time to go online, have a check out of universities, look at when their open days are. I know some are already planning virtual open days compared to actual open days. So that's something to consider. Although people think, well, you pay to go to university so I can go anywhere, it's an extremely competitive environment. So your application needs to be as good as it can be. And the way you do that is to make yourself the best student you can be. And things like doing your research, making sure you're on the right courses, investing time and being passionate about the subject area is probably the most important one. And then also work experience, something that as a department we're really, really hot on. And you will do work experience with us as part of our course in both year 12 and year 13. That's core, and that's key as part of your UCAS application going forth. But the key thing with progression is, if you're not sure, research. Even doubt, ask questions. At Worthing College, you've got a team of 6 or 7 teachers that have all gone to university. So for some of us, it's longer than others, but we can talk about, what we've done, what we found, but we've got a massive alumni network at Worthing as well. I've got students currently at university, and then I feel really old when I've got students that have been and done and finished university now. So we can give really good advice in terms of what might be good. What's a good university for physiotherapy? Chris, how do I apply for a scholarship in America? So all those things we can help give you advice on as well.
The good thing is, if we don't know it, we probably know someone who does. And I think that's the important thing. So the other options that are open are apprenticeships. Obviously, we've just got down there a list of ones that we currently deliver or have delivered in the past at the college. Basically, an apprenticeship is something you do at the end of your academic time with us. You would get paid an apprenticeship wage, which at the moment is around about £100 a week. And you learn on the job and you gain qualification as well. Also, as a third year student, you technically could still play for an academy team if that's something that that links to yourself as well. The final progression route in terms of us personally is that we're the only department in the college to run courses from level 2, so GCSE level, what you've currently been studying, all the way through to level 5, which is foundation degree level. So we run a foundation degree in sport, exercise and health science in conjunction with the University of Chichester. And the pluses of that are, in terms of tuition fees, slightly cheaper. What it allows you to do is potentially build your confidence over 2 years, and a third year you can change that into an undergrad degree at any university of your choice, pretty much, in any subject linking to those areas of sport, exercise and health science. Also, the classes are a lot smaller, so probably only about 10 to 12 students, rather than if you're on an undergrad degree, you're looking at 100, 150, 200 in a lecture theatre. So you get more of that one-to-one approach. And also, we're launching more next year in relation to work-based learning, which is going to be centred around the academies. So you could have industry-led experience on things such as nutrition, psychology, video analysis, strength conditioning, anything you feel that is benefit to you. But obviously, this is at the end of your 2 years with us or your 3 years with us, depending on what you do. So just to finish off, Chris, I know you've mentioned it about, if in doubt, research. If you still got things to answer, come and ask us. What advice would you say right now to someone who's watching this, year 11, student, parent, carer? What would the advice be?
I would say do what you can. Obviously, a lot of people are saying, stay safe, look after yourself. That's the number one priority at the moment. Also, don't worry. These are uncertain times for us as much as they are for you guys, and we'll make it work. If you can give time, if you're bored, if you're thinking, I need to think about September, etc., invest in the subject area. You're obviously passionate about sport because you've looked at studying it at college, but that investment can be, as I said earlier, a YouTube channel, a podcast, a TEDx. There's many films out there, documentaries. All those things will apply and add knowledge to you guys. But also, there would be no harm in, polishing up your anatomy terminology, starting to look at psychology theories, etc., etc. And that's where having our contact details now, you can contact us directly if you're not sure about something, or you just go, oh, I don't know what to do. What should I do? Me and Dave would respond like that and give you many things you could start looking at. But I think it's check you're on the right courses. That's really important. Start thinking about progression. College is only 2 years. So think back to the start of year 10 and think how quickly that's gone for you guys. Start back to the start of year 11. That's the sort of time you have now, thinking about how long you've got to start thinking about applying to university. So this time, Dave alluded to at the start, could actually be a bit of a blessing in terms of a bit of time to actually sit back, stop, reflect, and think about the bigger picture of where you might be going.
Definitely. And we've missed something out, I forgot. Obviously, we've spoken about the sports science double and the sports science triple. So the sports science triple is the only thing you would study. You wouldn't study anything else alongside it. With the double, what kind of courses do you think really carry quite well?
So,
is it a case of do what you mean?
Yeah, so my number one advice is always do the subjects you're passionate about, because your grades will often reflect well with that. But with sports science, commonly students will do biology, especially if you're going down the physiotherapy route. That's really important to add, that most universities with physiotherapy expect a science, and obviously biology be the one that you do alongside that. And then also a lot of students do psychology, sociology, business. And again, when you start looking at those as A-levels, you can see why they might suit them. Some students also do those sort of qualifications, but do them as other BTECs, but small BTECs. So you might do environmental science, which is a BTEC, as a single, and do that alongside a double sports science. But again, the choice is yours, but this time to think about progression where you're going could be a good opportunity to look at those courses you're on to reflect what you do. But say psychology, business, biology are our most common subjects.
No, thanks for that, Chris. And I really appreciate you taking time out to chat to the masses, hopefully, and it hopefully gives them a bit more information. I think just to finish off, I think structure's key. I think routine's key. I think if you've been demotivated, now this is time to get motivated. Start a fresh week, start a fresh day, and really get your teeth into what you're looking to do in September. Because you know, we will get through this, and I hope people are safe and well, but we will get through this, and you know, there'll be exciting times ahead. So, you know, thank you very much for speaking today, Chris.
Cheers, guys.
Thank you. See you later. Take care.
See ya.